The transfer window may be closed, but it does not mean the transfer business has finished. On Saturday night, after being beaten by Manchester City, Lopetegui was asked about the business conducted by West Ham during the summer, and he pointed out we could still sign free agents. Now, of course, he is correct. However, an interesting comment to make. Earlier today, Sean Weston has claimed that West Ham could sign one more player this summer, and ExWHUEmployee has claimed that we're in talks with one player in particular. Now, I have a feeling, just a hunch as to who that player is, and I think it makes sense. But I thought in today's video, we could have a look at which players are available and how many players West Ham could actually still sign. However, if you're new to Hamish Chat, please do subscribe and do drop a like on the video by clicking the thumbs up button. Both things are free, takes 2 seconds and helps the channel out. And speaking of clicking, there's going to be a lot of it because I've designed some images. Let's start with the most valuable players that's available on a free transfer according to Transfer Markets. Right at the top there, you've got Rabiot. We are all aware of him, French international. Market value of 30 million euros according to Transfer Market. Now, we're going to have to ignore Hermoso because technically he's a free agent. However, he is expected to join Roma. He's in advanced negotiations over there. But then you've got Antony Martial, Memphis Depay, Andre Gomez, who we were linked to quite some time ago, Ben Yedder, who we were linked to quite some time ago, Mats Hummels, we were linked to this summer in particular, Dele Alli at the bottom there. So a lot of notable names. Now, I'm actually going to put a link to this website and this page in particular in the description below, so you want to go have a look yourself and let me know which free agents you would love to see join West Ham. A lot of ex-West Ham players, so you've got Dan Randolph, Ryan Fredericks, Carl Jenkinson, James Tompkins, Cheku Kiati, but also a lot of players that we've been linked to over the years as well, like I said, Gomez, Ben Yedder. So it's worth a little look because there's some big names, big profiles that's available in a free transfer. Ravel Morrison, there's like a free agents game that occurs where they play, you know, League 1, League 2 sides, National League sides. So it's a team of free agents playing non-league sides so that scouts can go to the game and watch them. And Ravel Morrison has been featuring in those as well. But moving on to centre-backs specifically, because while ExWHUEmployee has confirmed that we're in talks with one player, I think it's fair to assume it will be a centre-back considering we've only got 3 senior ones at the club. Now, yes, Alvarez can play there. Yes, we've got Kalen Casey. However, I think it would be a centre-back. Now, these are the centre-backs that are free agents. There's obviously more. It's done, again, in market value. So, again, ignore Hermoso. So, we've got Joel Matip there, followed by Marlon. Then we've got Mats Hummels. Then we've got someone whose name I've covered up because I was hovering over Mats Hummels. Is that Egan? I think it's John Egan. A few players I don't know. Sergio Ramos is currently a free agent, and then at the very bottom we've got Kier, who again Danish international, played for AC Milan, big player. Didn't realise he was 35 years old though. I thought he was maybe a bit younger than that if I had to guess. But the reason Sergio Ramos is perhaps a little bit interesting, as well as Antony Martial, is that both have played under Lopetegui before. So when Lopetegui was manager of Sevilla, he had Martial on loan for half a season, played against us in the Europa League, of course. 9 games, 1 goal for Martial under Lopetegui. Now, I have no idea if Lopetegui liked Martial or Martial liked Lopetegui, but what we do know is that they have worked together previously. Just a bit of an injury-prone player, I say a bit, very injury-prone player, left Manchester United, not picked up a new club since. So he's on the market if someone's looking for a striker who will be injured more than he's available, but certainly one that's never fulfilled his potential, I think is fair to say. Sergio Ramos, 38 years old now, but Lopetegui was manager of Ramos twice. He was the manager of Sergio Ramos while, of course, the Spain manager, but not only was he the boss, Ramos was his captain. Now, yes, Lopetegui left under questionable circumstances by refusing to let any player negotiate a transfer while in the Spain squad, but then went and negotiated his own move to Real Madrid. So he left, obviously, because of that reason. So it's not a good look for him. However, that shouldn't really impact his relationship with Sergio Ramos. But if that wasn't enough, obviously Lopetegui went to Real Madrid, where Sergio Ramos was. Now, again, Lopetegui did not get on well with Real Madrid, but that's not really what we're questioning here. It's just a case of, does Lopetegui still believe Sergio Ramos can do the business at 38 years of age and in the Premier League? I'll tell you what, there's a little bit of me that would love to see it happen. I don't know why. He's just one of those players, isn't he? Just one of those players that you think it would be madness to have him, even just for a season. But a bit of me just wants to see what it's like, Sergio Ramos at West Ham United. He'd bring a winning mentality, that's for sure, and pick up a few yellow cards and possibly 1 or 2 reds in the Premier League as well. But if you want a player with the correct professionalism in terms of attitude and that mentality, he's got it. He's got that leadership, and there's no doubt that once upon a time he was one of the best centre-backs in the world. Just whether he can still do it at 38 years of age. However, he's been playing at a high level. It's not like we're plucking him out of the second division of Spain. He was playing at the top division of Spain last season. So I don't think it's Sergio Ramos. I think it's Joel Matip, by the way. The player that we're in negotiations with has not been named. I just think my hunch, my guess, and it's just that, is that would be Matip, formerly of Liverpool. Again, top defender, just with injury problems. And let me just double check how old Matip is now. 33 years of age. So he's getting on a little bit, but on a 1-year contract, I'm okay with that. Jurgen Klopp used to trust him. You know, he used to rotate him with Konate, depending on the opposition, as it depends which centre-back got played. But Quansah, the emergence of Quansah sort of made Matip's role redundant, didn't require him in the squad. I think it's the right thing for Liverpool to move on from Matip. But it doesn't mean that he's not good enough to become a 4th choice centre-back at West Ham United anymore. I don't think ability was ever really the issue. I think it was just availability. But we're looking essentially for the 4th choice centre-back here. I think he's definitely good enough for that one. So I'd imagine that Matip is the player that we are having talks with to see what his financial package would be like. This is where negotiating power is completely with the club. Most clubs have done their business by now. Most clubs have settled on their squad. In terms of how many clubs are currently looking for a centre-back, I'd imagine not that many is the answer. And often you'll see, De Gea's maybe an extreme one, but often you will see players like that just not get a new club. They'll just disappear, announce retirement in a year's time. You think, oh, I thought you retired ages ago because you've just been doing nothing. So power of negotiating is with West Ham. Ideally, a pay-as-you-play contract, whether that's something he would sign or any player would sign, I do not know. But I guess that's the ideal situation. Now, before I talk about one player I would still love to see at West Ham that isn't Joel Matip, I thought we could have a little look at the current squad as to how many players West Ham can still sign. So this is the goalkeepers, fullbacks, and one. A couple. No, so yeah. I don't know why Wan-Bissaka's on there and not on the other page. I've gone right backs over to the left backs on the next page. But anyway, Fabianski and Areola, and then we've got Foderingham and Wan-Bissaka, who are both homegrown, followed by Soufal, Mavropanos, and then Todibo. On the next page, we've got Kilman, Creswell, and Emerson, 2 of them being homegrown. Then we've got Alvarez, Rodriguez, Souček, and Andy Irving. And then lastly, I've squeezed them all into this one graphic. We've got Carlos Soler, who's just joined on loan, as well as Lucas Paqueta. Jared Bowen. We've also got Crescencio Somerville, who is homegrown. And we also have Mohamed Kudus and Niklas Füllkrug, followed by Michael Antonio and Danny Ings, also both homegrown. So that gives us a squad of 22 players, 14 non-homegrown and 8 homegrown players. However, and before somebody says Luis Guilherme, we don't need to register him because he's under 21 years old. We do not need to register Guilherme. We don't need to register Casey. Hence why I've not included them in the previous graphics. But I should have included this man, Luis Diao. 22 years of age. Obviously, we're trying to get rid of him towards the end of the window, and he still might leave. There are still countries he can join today, so he still might leave West Ham. However, if we do not move Luis Diao on, when we have to register the squad on the 13th or 14th of September, one of the two, you have to register every player that's over the age of 21. It doesn't matter if you want him in the team or not, you have to register them. Now obviously if you've got 27 players, then you pick which 2 you leave out. But if you've got 23 players, which we do, you have to register all 23. Now I don't know what, I'm just including that for the sake of the rules really. So at the minute we've got 2 vacancies, but there's nothing stopping us bringing in 3 and just not registering Luis Diao. But at the minute we will be registering 23 players, Luis Diao plus the other players that you've seen. So there is still space in Lopetegui's squad for a couple of more players. We're fine for homegrown, we've got 8 of them. The rule is you're allowed a maximum of 17 non-homegrown players. Well, at the minute we'd have 15 with Luis Diao, so we've still got 2 non-homegrown spaces. So it's quite a nice position to be in, actually. I think it's a nice squad size, bearing in mind we've got no European football either. So in terms of which free transfers we bring in, we're not restricted in that market. However, the player, and I'm just a big fan of him, and I know if you were subscribed to the channel a couple of months ago, you'll be thinking, I know exactly who this is because you've already spoken about him. Correct. He's on here. He's halfway down. Well, he's in the quarter of the way down maybe. Memphis Depay, 30 years old. I would still like him at West Ham. I would. I think he looked alright during the Euros. Was he fantastic? No. Was he terrible? No. However, from what I've seen, I thought he would suit the way that we were possibly going to play under Lopetegui. I've seen nothing to change my mind in that regard. We're only 4 games in. I think it's fair to say at this point in time, the back 4 is taking shape now with Wan-Bissaka, Mavropanos, Kilman and Emerson. Obviously the long-term hope would be that Tadic was going to come in and play there. Otherwise we're maybe committed to paying 40 million for somebody that isn't in the first team. But the defence has sorted itself out now. The keeper's fine. You know your 11 is going to include Kudus and Bowen. It's just a case of where. You know at least one of Alvarez or Rodriguez will be in there. Paqueta probably will be, and it'll be a case of which one between Soler and Alvarez or Rodriguez. But that striker, there's not a real obvious player just yet as to who has that role. I think it's a vacancy. I think the striker role is a vacancy. Now there is some talk we were going to rip up Danny Ings' contract. I think it would be a bit harsh, truth be told. I think, should he have left? Yes, okay. He's been left out of the last 2 squads. But listen, leaving out Man City doesn't tell him anything other than you should have left. But the Bournemouth one was telling. Him, Cornet, Aguerd, all left out the squad completely. You might as well have said, just do one. Look, just go. 2 of them did. Ings is still here. The talk of ripping up his contract, unless there's a clause in there which means we only have to pay X amount of his contract in order to tear it up. If that's not there, we'd have to pay his contract up. I think it was just well keeping him and using him. He's still a good presence around the training ground and so on and so forth. But Memphis Depay, I don't know. A bit like Sergio Ramos. There's a bit of a difference. I'm not away to say I haven't been a fan of Sergio Ramos. But Memphis Depay is just one of those players I've always liked. I've just always liked him as a football fan and neutral. I've always liked Depay. He's never, I say Martial never fulfilled his potential. I would definitely put Depay in that bracket, by the way. I thought he'd go on and become an elite player, and he's gone on to become a very good player, but I don't think he's reached the levels I thought he might have done when he was younger. But at West Ham for the season now, he would be pricey, and I'm surprised he's not got another club. I know he spoke about getting Euros over and done with and then deciding where to go. I'm still surprised he's not been picked up or had an offer that he's found is the correct one. But Memphis Depay at West Ham, I'd still really like it. I still think he's got something to offer. He's only 30 years of age, and like I said, I think he had a decent tournament at the Euros for the Netherlands. Yeah, I'd still like to see him in the claret and blue this season. So, in terms of centre-backs, like I said, I think Matip makes sense, and if I had to put my money on someone joining as a free agent, it would be Matip. Whom would I like? Matip and Memphis Depay. That's who I would like. I'm being greedy, but why not? I'm a football fan. You're allowed to dream. You're allowed to have hopes, and I hope we sign those 2 players. However, I have to say, if we were to sign nobody, I'm okay with that as well. I'm alright with the 3 senior centre-backs plus Alvarez's cover if needs be, plus Kaelin Casey having a route into the first team. I'm okay with that. Risky, but like I've said in previous videos, I can't be too hypocritical. I can't sit here and moan that there's no pathway for youngsters into the first team and then block the pathway for Casey, because at the minute he's the only youngster with any chance of playing first team football for West Ham this season. The rest of them have gone out on loan. Lewis Orford's still at the club, but there's a lot of competition, and he'll have a fantastic season with the under-21s, I've got no doubt about it, and he might go out on loan in January. In regards to the first team, we're not going to see Lewis Orford. I think the only youngster we may see get some minutes is Caelan Casey, and that's because we've got 3 senior centre-backs. Bring in Matip or Hummels, I don't think you're seeing him. And I'd find it very hypocritical of myself to sit here whinging about lack of opportunities for youngsters and then endorse bringing in a 33-year-old centre-back, which prevents Casey getting minutes. So I think Matip makes sense. However, if we don't bring in a centre-back as a free agent, I'm okay with that as well, and it becomes an opportunity for Caelan Casey. Anyway, that's my thoughts, and links in the description below, so have a click, have a look, and let me know any free agents that you would like to see at West Ham United. But if you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it, subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat, and I'll catch you tomorrow.